A billionaire was lost in thought when he saw a little girl crying on the street. Around her neck was his long-lost necklace that had been missing for years. He rushed to her, pointing with trembling hands. "Where did you get this?" The girl, Vera, clutched it tightly. "Don't touch it. This is my daddy's necklace." The billionaire froze. His chest tightened. His whole world stopped. Daddy's necklace. Who was this child? And how did she end up with something that belonged only to him? Stay tuned and enjoy this powerful, suspense-filled story that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Isabella was a beautiful young lady with a kind heart. She lived in a small room with her best friend Esther. Life was not easy for them. Isabella didn't have a good job and sometimes went to bed without food. But she never gave up. She always said, "One day my story will change." One bright morning, Isabella woke up early and smiled brightly. She had an interview at a hotel. Esther hugged her tightly and prayed for her success. "Go and shine, Isabella. I know you'll get this job." Isabella felt nervous but hopeful as she prepared herself. Isabella wore her best clothes and went to the hotel. The building looked grand and intimidating. Her heart beat fast as she walked through the glass doors. After many questions, she was told, "Congratulations, you got the job." Isabella screamed with joy. After so many months of struggle and disappointment, she finally had hope. She could barely contain her excitement. She hugged Esther when she got home, dancing around their small room. That night, Esther was so happy for Isabella that she decided they should go out to celebrate. "Let's go to the club tonight," she said, "just for fun." Isabella didn't want to go at first. She was tired and wanted to rest. But Esther begged her. "Just one night. You deserve it. You've worked so hard for this moment." Isabella finally agreed. They dressed up and went to a popular club in the city. Loud music filled the air, dancing lights flashed everywhere, people laughing and celebrating. It was like another world Isabella had never experienced before. That same night, in another part of the city, Kelvin, a 33-year-old millionaire, sat alone in his car with tears streaming down his face. He was a successful businessman, rich, respected, and handsome, but his heart was broken. He had just been betrayed by someone he trusted the most, his business partner. The man had stolen company money and ran away, leaving Kelvin to face the damage. Kelvin felt lost and broken inside. He drove to a club, the same one where Isabella was celebrating, and started drinking heavily, hoping to forget the pain that gripped his heart. His men later helped him upstairs to his private room in the hotel above the club. He could barely walk straight. His eyes were red and swollen. His thoughts were heavy with betrayal and disappointment. Back at the club downstairs, Isabella wore a simple black dress that made her look natural and lovely. But soon, her body started feeling strange and weak. She had taken a strong drug earlier for her persistent headache, and now it was making her extremely sleepy. She felt dizzy and confused. She touched her Esther hand gently and said, "I need to lie down. I feel dizzy." She walked upstairs quietly, searching desperately for a resting place. Her vision was blurry. She saw a hotel room door half open. It was quiet and dark inside, seeming peaceful and safe. Isabella walked slowly, lay on the soft bed, and closed her eyes. Sleep took her quickly and deeply. She didn't know it was Kelvin's room. She had no idea what was about to happen next. A few minutes later, Kelvin walked into his room. His eyes were tired and unfocused. His steps were slow and unsteady. When he saw Isabella lying on the bed in his drunken state, he thought she was someone his friend had arranged to comfort him in his pain. He didn't say anything. Isabella didn't move at all. That night, in confusion, pain, and weakness, they became intimate. Neither of them was fully aware of what was happening. The next morning, Isabella woke up slowly. Her head was still spinning wildly. She sat up carefully and looked around the unfamiliar room. The room was quiet and empty. The man she slept with was gone without a trace. She touched her body and quickly stood up, shocked and deeply confused. Her eyes fell on a beautiful gold necklace lying beside the pillow, gleaming in the morning light. She picked it up and held it close to her chest. It looked very expensive and well crafted. It had a name engraved on it, K. Williams. She didn't know who the man was, but something deep inside her told her to keep the necklace safe. On the table, she also saw some money neatly arranged. Tears filled her eyes as reality hit her. "What happened to me last night?" Isabella whispered to herself, her voice shaking with fear and confusion. She quickly dressed up and ran home as fast as her trembling legs could carry her. Esther was already worried sick, pacing back and forth in their small room. Isabella, where have you been? What happened to you? Isabella didn't speak at first. She only hugged Esther tightly and cried like a wounded child. 1 month later, Isabella started feeling very weak and strange. She couldn't eat much without feeling sick. Her body felt different and unfamiliar. Esther noticed the changes immediately. "Are you okay?" Esther asked, with concern in her eyes. "I don't know," Isabella said, with fear growing in her voice. She went to a nearby clinic, her heart pounding with worry. After running several tests, the nurse came back smiling gently and warmly. "Congratulations, you are 1 month pregnant." Isabella froze completely. "What?" she asked, her voice shaking uncontrollably. "Yes, you are pregnant," the nurse repeated, still smiling. Isabella covered her mouth with both hands. Tears rolled down her face in streams. She walked home slowly, her mind racing with thoughts. When she got inside, she sat on the cold floor and cried like a baby. Her face was covered in tears. She couldn't stop crying no matter how hard she tried. Her whole body shook with panic and fear. "I'm going to have a baby," Isabella whispered over and over. "But how will I take care of this child? I don't even know who the father is. I don't even know his name or what he looks like. I didn't see his face clearly." She placed a trembling hand on her flat stomach and looked up at the old cracked ceiling above her. "God, why me?" she cried out loud. "I don't have money. I don't have parents to help me. Just this small job I just started. Why now? Why like this? What did I do to deserve this?" The door opened gently and quietly. It was Esther returning home. She had brought bread and beans from a nearby shop for their dinner. But when she saw Isabella crying on the floor like that, she dropped the food immediately. "Isabella, what's wrong? You are scaring me badly." She rushed to her side and knelt down. Isabella looked at her with red, swollen eyes, tears still rolling down her cheeks. "I'm pregnant, Esther. I'm pregnant." Her voice was weak like a faint whisper, barely audible. Esther's eyes widened in complete shock. "What? Wait, what? How did this happen?" Isabella explained everything slowly, pausing to wipe her tears. The celebration at the club, the dizziness, the sleep in the strange room, waking up alone, the gold necklace she found, and the money left on the table. She opened her bag with shaking hands and brought out the necklace and the money. Esther stared at it carefully. It was gold, shiny, and beautifully crafted. The letters K. Williams were engraved clearly. Esther was quiet for a very long time, thinking deeply. Then she held Isabella's hand firmly. "Listen carefully, we need to go back to that club," Esther said softly, but with determination. "Someone must know something about that night. Maybe the workers remember. Maybe someone saw something that can help us." Isabella looked unsure and afraid. "Do you think they will remember anything? It's been 1 whole month already." "We can try," Esther said firmly, squeezing her hand. "We won't sit here doing nothing while you suffer alone." The next day, Isabella and Esther went back to the same club where everything had started. The music was not as loud during the daytime. The bright lights were turned off. Only cleaners and a few staff were around, preparing for the evening. They walked up nervously to the manager's office. "Good afternoon, sir," Esther said politely and respectfully. "Please, we really need your help with something important." The manager raised his eyes from his paperwork. "What do you want?" he asked impatiently. "My friend was here a night about a month ago. She drank something and became very weak and dizzy. She ended up in a hotel room that night and something terrible happened. She woke up alone the next morning and doesn't remember who the man was." The manager frowned deeply. "We see a lot of people every single night. We can't possibly remember one person from a month ago." Esther brought out the necklace from Isabella's bag and showed it to him, holding it up to the light. "Maybe this can help us. He left this behind. Have you seen anyone wearing something like this before?" The manager looked at it closely, examining the engraving, then shook his head slowly. "No, it looks expensive, but I've never seen it before. Sorry, I can't help you." Isabella felt her heart sink completely. Another cleaner walked by, pushing a cart. Esther stopped her quickly. "Please, excuse me, do you remember a man that booked a hotel room that night? He came in very late, maybe around midnight. Maybe he was drunk?" The woman scratched her head, thinking hard. "Men come here every single night. I can't really say. Some go to the hotel after drinking heavily, but I don't know their names or faces." They asked 2 more staff members, showing the necklace, but no one had any helpful answers. Isabella and Esther walked out of the club slowly, their hope fading. Isabella looked down at the ground, her steps heavy with disappointment. "No one knows him," Isabella whispered sadly. "What do I do now? How will I find him?" Esther held her hand tightly. "Don't give up yet, Isabella. We'll find another way somehow." They walked quietly along the busy street, lost in their thoughts. Isabella placed a gentle hand on her stomach, feeling the life growing inside. "I don't know your father," she said in her heart, speaking to her unborn child, "but I promise to love you with all my heart. I promise to protect you always. I will raise this baby alone if I have to. I will try my absolute best. This baby didn't ask to come into this world. It's not the baby's fault at all." Esther felt tears welling up in her eyes too. She hugged Isabella tightly, holding her close. "You are stronger than you think," she whispered softly, "but I'm here with you. We will walk through this difficult journey together, no matter what happens." That night, Isabella couldn't sleep at all. She kept thinking and worrying. She imagined the baby growing inside her belly. What would she say when the child asked one day, "Where is my daddy?" What would she do if people in the neighborhood mocked her and called her names? But one thing she knew for certain: she would never abandon her child, no matter how hard life became. The next morning, she went to work at the hotel as usual. She cleaned rooms thoroughly, washed towels carefully, and smiled politely at guests, even when her heart was heavy with worry. Nobody knew what she was going through inside. Nobody could see the silent pain hidden in her eyes, but Isabella kept going, determined to survive. Somewhere far across the city, in a large, luxurious mansion, Kelvin sat in his office staring at nothing. He looked at the empty space in front of him, deep in thought. He had absolutely no idea he had left a piece of his past behind. A gold necklace and a baby growing in a poor girl's womb on the other side of town. In the mansion, Kelvin stood in front of his tall mirror, adjusting his expensive black suit and diamond wristwatch. He looked sharp and handsome as always, ready for another busy day at work. But something felt strangely missing. He looked around his spacious room carefully, then turned to his wooden dressing table. His eyes scanned every corner and drawer. Then he stopped suddenly. His gold necklace, the special one with his family name engraved on it, was completely gone. He frowned deeply, confused. "Where is it?" he muttered to himself with concern. He opened all his drawers one by one, checked carefully under the bed, flipped the pillow and sheets. Nothing. Then he called out loudly. "Mary!" His maid, an elderly woman who had worked for the family for years, rushed in quickly. "Yes, sir. When you were cleaning my room yesterday, did you see one of my gold necklaces? The one with my family name engraved on it?" Mary looked surprised and concerned. "Oh, no, sir. I didn't see it. I cleaned your dressing table thoroughly, but I didn't see any necklace there at all." Kelvin sighed deeply and rubbed his forehead, feeling frustrated. "I don't even remember the last time I wore that necklace. It's been so long. Sir, if you want, I can search for the necklace again more carefully. Maybe it fell somewhere hidden." Kelvin waved his hand dismissively. "No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You can go now." Mary bowed her head respectfully. "All right, sir." She quietly left the room, closing the door softly. Kelvin sat on the edge of his large bed, still thinking about the missing necklace. That necklace, I've had it for many years. It's been in my family. How did I lose it? He shrugged it off eventually and headed out for work, dismissing the mystery. He didn't know that necklace was now with someone else, someone he had met on a forgotten, drunken night. Back in Isabella's world across the city, Isabella was standing behind the hotel front desk, trying desperately to keep her eyes open. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her head felt heavy like a rock. It was getting worse with each passing day. Her body was extremely weak. She would be walking, then suddenly feel dizzy and disoriented. She would be standing, then suddenly feel like collapsing and sitting on the floor. She was now always tired, always sleepy and exhausted. Even after sleeping all night long, she still felt like closing her eyes the next morning, and sometimes her stomach would turn and twist like it was doing a dance, making her feel nauseated. One afternoon, she went to clean one of the guest rooms, but ended up sitting on the bed and dozing off completely. A guest came in unexpectedly and was shocked to see her sleeping on the job. The guest went straight to the manager and complained. Later that day, Isabella was called into the manager's office. He looked very angry and disappointed. "Isabella, what's going on with you?" he asked sternly. I'm sorry, sir, Isabella stammered nervously. You've been feeling sleepy, weak, dizzy, he said, finishing her sentence impatiently. You've been careless and slow. Guests are complaining about you. Even your co-workers are saying the same thing. Tears welled up in Isabella's eyes as she stood there. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to disappoint you. I don't know what's wrong with you, Isabella, but this hotel cannot keep someone who's not fit to work properly. Isabella froze completely. Her heart dropped to her stomach. You are fired, the manager said coldly. You can go now. Outside the hotel, Isabella sat on a hard cement bench, crying her eyes out uncontrollably. She held her bag close to her chest and rocked back and forth like a frightened child. I just lost my job. I just lost the only hope I had for survival. Her body shook violently as she cried. She didn't know what to do or where to go next. That evening, Isabella returned to her small room defeated and broken. As soon as she opened the door, Esther rushed to her with concern. Isabella, you didn't go to work today. I've been worried sick about you. Isabella dropped to the floor immediately, crying again. I was fired, she whispered through her tears. Esther gasped in shock. What? Why? What happened? Isabella explained everything painfully, how she had been feeling dizzy, sleepy, weak, and how it affected her work performance. Esther looked at her for a while, understanding. Isabella, I think this pregnancy is getting harder on your body. Isabella covered her face with both hands, sobbing. How will I survive now, Esther? No job, no money, and I'm pregnant with a baby. God, help me, please. Esther hugged her tightly, holding her close, tears streaming down her own eyes too. You are not alone in this fight. We will figure this out somehow. Don't give up, Isabella. Please, don't give up on yourself. Meanwhile, in his luxurious mansion across town, Kelvin stood on his wide balcony, looking up at the evening sky, thinking about his missing necklace. He had absolutely no idea that the girl crying on the floor, pregnant and helpless, carried his blood in her womb and his gold necklace hidden in her drawer. 5 years passed by slowly. Isabella was now 29 years old. She was no longer that scared young girl sitting on the floor and crying hopelessly. Life had not been easy at all, but she didn't give up on her dreams. After losing her hotel job years ago, she later found another one in a small but busy restaurant across the city. The pay was quite small, but it helped her survive day by day. She worked extremely hard every day, serving customers with a smile, washing plates until her hands hurt, and cleaning the floors on her knees. She never complained about the hard work. She just wanted a better life for her precious daughter. Yes, her daughter. Little Vera was now 4 years old, a bright and beautiful girl full of life. She had her mother's warm eyes, a sharp mind beyond her years, and the sweetest smile that could light up any room. Isabella raised her completely alone without any help from a man. Esther, her best friend, was always there supporting them in the early days until she got married and moved away to another city. Even though Isabella had no husband by her side, she gave Vera all the love in the world and more. But some questions were very hard to answer, honestly. One quiet evening, Isabella and Vera sat together in their small room. Vera was playing quietly with her dolls in the corner, but her face looked unusually sad. Isabella noticed it immediately. My baby, what's wrong? She asked softly, kneeling beside her. Vera looked up with teary eyes filling with sadness. Mommy, where is my daddy? Isabella's heart dropped and broke. Vera continued innocently. My friends, Jane and Myra, they always talk about their daddies every day. Jane said her daddy brings her chocolate biscuits after work. Myra said her daddy reads her bedtime stories every night. But I don't have any daddy at all. Isabella gently pulled her close, holding her tight. She didn't speak first, her throat tight with emotion. Her hand shook slightly as she opened the top drawer of a small wooden cabinet beside her bed. She brought out a shining gold necklace with the words K. Williams beautifully carved on it. Isabella smiled sadly and wiped away her tears. Vera, this necklace belongs to your daddy, she said softly, her voice breaking. Vera's eyes lit up immediately with excitement. Really? For real? Isabella nodded slowly. Yes, my love. This is the only thing he left behind for us. I don't know his full name or where he is now, but this necklace reminds me of him every day. And now it will remind you too. Vera touched it gently with her tiny fingers, amazed. So, this is my daddy's necklace? She asked, her eyes big with wonder and curiosity. Yes, my baby, Isabella said, carefully placing it around her small neck. It's your daddy's necklace. Please don't let anyone touch it or take it away. This is the only memory we have of him in the whole world. Vera smiled brightly, touching it proudly. Wow, I'll show my friends at school tomorrow. I'll tell them I have a daddy too. I have his beautiful necklace. Isabella shook her head gently but firmly. No, Vera, you can show it, but don't ever let anyone touch it or take it away. You must protect it carefully. I will, Mommy. Vera nodded happily, her face glowing. I will always wear it forever. I won't miss my daddy again because I have his necklace to keep him close to my heart. Isabella hugged her tightly, holding her close. Tears rolled down her cheeks freely, but this time it wasn't from pain or sadness. It was from pure love and the joy of seeing her daughter smile with happiness. Meanwhile, in a luxurious mansion far away across the city, Kelvin sat on his wide balcony with his father, Chief Williams. They were drinking expensive tea and watching the beautiful sunset together. Son, his father began seriously. You are not getting younger anymore. When are you going to settle down and marry? I want grandchildren. Kelvin chuckled lightly. Soon, Dad. I've been thinking about it seriously. His father smiled with satisfaction. Good. Trisha is a very nice girl. I've met her family already. I like her very much. Yes, Dad. I'll get married to Trisha soon. She's beautiful, smart, and well-behaved. A perfect wife. But then, Kelvin paused suddenly. He stared into the orange sky with a thoughtful, distant look. But sometimes I feel like something important is missing, he added, almost to himself. His father looked at him with concern. Missing? Like what exactly? Kelvin shrugged his shoulders. I don't know, Dad. It's just this strange, empty feeling deep inside. I try to ignore it completely, but it always comes back stronger. His father sighed deeply and placed his teacup down carefully. Maybe it's because of your late mom. You were very close to her, he said gently, remembering maybe you're right. Kelvin nodded slowly, thinking of her. Maybe you're right. You know what? His father continued wisely. You need to get married and start a family. That will help you feel complete and whole. That emptiness, it will go away when you have your own family and children. Kelvin smiled faintly, hoping it was true. I hope so, Dad. But deep in his heart, he didn't know that the missing piece of his life was a small girl named Vera, wearing his lost necklace with pride, calling it my daddy's necklace. A beautiful black car slowly pulled into the driveway of a modern house with white walls and colorful flower pots at the entrance. The driver's door opened and a classy, well-dressed young woman stepped out gracefully in high heels. It was Trisha, Kelvin's girlfriend. She looked extremely elegant in her fitted designer dress, her curly hair bouncing perfectly as she walked. She held an expensive designer handbag and wore light makeup that made her look rich and polished. Trisha was highly educated, bold, and very stylish. Everything about her screamed power, beauty, and confidence. She walked up the stairs confidently and pressed the doorbell. Cynthia, she called out cheerfully and loudly. The door opened wide. Cynthia, her best friend, hugged her tightly with excitement. Oh, Trisha, look at you. You look amazing. Come in quickly. They walked into the spacious living room, laughing and talking. The place was neat, modern, and classy, just like Cynthia herself. She was also beautiful and full of confidence and charm. As they sat down comfortably, Cynthia poured some fresh juice into 2 crystal glasses. So, tell me everything, Cynthia asked with a playful, mischievous smile. How's your man, Kelvin? Trisha smiled shyly and took a small sip. He's fine, she said softly. Working hard as usual, you know. You know how he is. Cynthia raised her eyebrows with interest. So, when is he going to propose to you finally? Trisha sighed deeply and looked down sadly at her glass. He hasn't said anything about marriage, Trisha replied sadly. I don't know what he's waiting for anymore. I love him so much, Cynthia, but I don't know if he has any serious plans to settle down with me. Cynthia sat up straight. What do you mean? You two always look so happy together in public. You're always smiling, traveling to amazing places, taking cute pictures for Instagram." Trisha nodded slowly, remembering. "Yes, we are happy most of the time, but sometimes he just becomes quiet and distant, absent-minded, like he's thinking deeply about something. When I ask him what's wrong, he just smiles and says nothing is wrong, but I know something is bothering him inside." Cynthia looked at her carefully, studying her face. "Trisha, are you sure he's not thinking about another woman? Maybe an ex?" Trisha's eyes widened slightly in alarm. "That was my first thought too. I've been watching him very closely. I'm monitoring his phone secretly. I installed a tracker app. He doesn't know about it." Cynthia gasped loudly and covered her mouth in complete shock. "What did you do? Girl?" "Yes," Trisha said confidently without shame. "But I haven't seen him chatting or calling any other woman at all. Only his business partners and a few old male friends, so I don't think he's cheating on me." Cynthia smiled mischievously, her eyes gleaming. You want him to propose to you, right?" Trisha nodded quickly and eagerly. "Yes, desperately. I want him to marry me soon. I want to become Mrs. Williams and live in that mansion." Cynthia giggled knowingly. "Let me tell you the secret trick I used for my man. You see that beautiful ring on my finger?" She lifted her left hand high and showed off her sparkling engagement ring proudly. Trisha leaned in closer with interest. "Tell me everything. What did you do?" Cynthia whispered like it was a big, dangerous secret. "I told him I was pregnant with his baby." Trisha's jaw dropped open in complete shock. "What? But were you really pregnant for real?" Cynthia shook her head slowly, laughing wickedly. "No, I wasn't pregnant at all. I just wanted him to take me seriously and commit." 2 weeks later, he proposed with this expensive ring. Trisha was completely speechless, her mind racing. "But what if he finds out you're not actually pregnant? Won't he be angry?" Cynthia rolled her eyes dismissively. "When he asked me about the baby later, I told him I lost the pregnancy unfortunately, and that was the end of it. He even felt sorry for me and comforted me. By then, we were already engaged officially. Men are like that, so easy to manipulate." Trisha was quiet for a long while, thinking carefully. "Do you really think I should do the same with Kelvin?" she asked slowly, her voice uncertain. Cynthia smiled wickedly. "If you really want to marry him, yes, absolutely. He's rich, handsome, successful. You love him. Just do it without hesitation. Once he believes you're carrying his child, he'll propose immediately. No man wants to lose his child or ruin his image or reputation." Trisha stared into space, thinking deeply about the plan. Her eyes blinked slowly as she considered it. She remembered Kelvin telling her sweetly, "I'll settle down soon, I promise." But she also remembered clearly how often he sat quietly, lost in deep thought about something. "Okay," Trisha said softly, but with determination. "I'll do it. I'll tell him I'm pregnant with his baby." Meanwhile, at that exact same moment across town, little Vera was playing happily with her dolls at home in their small room. She looked at the gold necklace hanging on her chest and smiled brightly. "I have a daddy," she whispered to herself proudly, "and this necklace proves it." In a world full of secrets, plans, lies, and manipulations, one little girl was holding on tightly to the only truth she had in her innocent heart. The sun was shining softly in the sky as Trisha's black car entered the Williams mansion compound. The security man opened the heavy gate with a big welcoming smile. Everyone knew who she was, Kelvin's woman, his girlfriend. She stepped out of the car elegantly in a red evening gown, her heels clicking gently on the marble floor. Her makeup was absolutely flawless and her handbag gleamed brightly under the sun. As she walked confidently to the entrance, the door opened before she could even knock. Kelvin stood there smiling brightly with joy. "Trisha," he called out warmly. She smiled sweetly back. "Hello, sweetheart." He pulled her into a warm, tight hug and kissed her cheek gently. "I missed you so much," he whispered in her ear. "I missed you too," she replied, holding him close. Kelvin held her hand as they walked inside the large, luxurious mansion together. The place smelled fresh and clean, like expensive flowers and polished marble floors. "Come, let me show you something special," he said excitedly, as much as a young boy. He took her to the lounge and played a soft romantic song on the expensive music speaker. They both laughed and started dancing slowly together. Trisha looked around the magnificent house admiringly. "Everything looks so perfect here, so beautiful." Kelvin replied, "Not perfect until you're always here with me," with a charming wink. Trisha giggled sweetly. "The best news I've ever heard in my life." He kissed her forehead repeatedly, his eyes filled with tears of joy. "I can't believe this moment. I'm going to be a father, finally." Then he paused, looked her directly in the eyes with seriousness and said, "Seriously, my dad and I will come and see your parents very soon. We must do the right thing and make this official." Trisha smiled sweetly, though guilt sat quietly and heavily in her heart. "Yes, Kelvin, I will be waiting," she whispered. But deep inside, she knew the terrible truth. There was no baby. Not yet. Not at all. Meanwhile, far across town in their small room, little Vera was skipping home happily with a drawing in her hand. She had drawn her daddy's necklace in school and colored it beautifully with crayons. "Mommy, Mommy, look what I drew today," she called excitedly. Isabella came out of the small kitchen with a warm smile. "What is it, my love?" Vera raised the paper high proudly. "My daddy's necklace. See? I made it golden, like real gold." Isabella's eyes filled with tears again. She walked over slowly, sat on the floor, and hugged Vera tightly, holding her like the most precious treasure in the world. "Mommy, I love you so much," she said softly, touching her mother's face. Isabella smiled through her tears. "I love you too, my baby, more than anything in this world." Vera touched the real necklace hanging on her neck. "One day, will I meet my daddy?" she asked innocently. Isabella's heart broke into a million pieces. "Maybe, my love, maybe one day God will bring him to us." And without knowing, on the other side of town, Kelvin was about to plan a wedding with the wrong woman, while his real daughter, wearing his family necklace, had just drawn a picture of it in a small room with peeling walls. Two worlds were about to collide. Fate was watching silently, waiting for the perfect moment. The truth was slowly getting ready to explode like thunder. Soon, very soon, a crying little girl on the street would change everything. A billionaire would see his lost necklace around a child's neck, and the question would tear through his soul: where did you get this? The story that began with a forgotten night was about to come full circle, and nothing would ever be the same again. The end. Moral of the story: truth cannot stay hidden forever. Lies may seem to work for a season, but honesty and real love will always find their way to the light. What belongs together will eventually come together, no matter how many years pass or how far apart they are.